Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at Nikola Tesla,
Oh, cool.
but not the Tesla you usually hear about, like all the science textbooks and all that stuff.
Right.
We've got some sources here that are going to explore a different side of him,
Okay.
like his mindset and his way of thinking about things. And it gets pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Some people might even call this a spherical truth.
Yeah, well,
I know
yeah.
some of you are probably out there thinking like, wait a minute, I came for the cool inventions, not like the woo-woo stuff.
Right.
But just stick with us on this.
Right.
Because what if Tesla's beliefs are actually the key to understanding like how he was able to invent all this crazy stuff in the first place?
That's a really good point.
Mhm.
I mean, we usually think about Tesla as this genius inventor, like all his work with electricity.
Right.
But he also had some ideas about like the nature of reality itself that were kind of out there for his time.
Yeah.
I mean, even kind of spiritual.
Okay, so our sources basically say that Tesla believed in this force that was shaping reality and that it was even more powerful than electricity. And get this, his unwavering faith in this force is actually what he thought unlocked his genius.
Wow.
But like, how do you even begin to understand that?
Well, I think the key here is that when Tesla talked about faith, he wasn't really talking about like religion.
Oh, okay.
It was more about like a really strong belief in the power of ideas.
Okay.
Like if you think about it, everything we see around us, everything we build and created, all started as just an idea in someone's head.
So you're saying like instead of Tesla praying to, some sort of deity, he was like praying to his inventions.
Kind of, yeah.
Like believing them into existence.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Our sources mentioned him working with unseen forces. He even talked about energy frequency and vibration as like the tools to understand the universe.
Right.
That sounds pretty out there.
It does sound a bit mystical, I'll admit.
Yeah.
But I think we can bring it down to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
Like think about Tesla's work with alternating current, the basis of like our entire electrical grid.
Right.
He wasn't just, messing around with wires and coils.
Yeah.
He was manipulating the very essence of energy, like its frequency and vibration, to create something brand new.
So he was like a mystic, but a mystic who could actually build things that worked.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe him.
That reminds me of something else our sources mentioned.
Okay.
Tesla's ability to visualize his inventions in his mind, like completely before he even built them.
Yeah, it's like you could see them working perfectly before you even started.
Did he like leave behind notes that were that detailed? Or was he just that good at visualizing?
He was known for taking really detailed notes and making diagrams.
Yeah.
But I think it was more than just like technical precision.
Okay.
Imagine having an idea so clear in your mind, so real that you could almost reach out and touch it. That's the level of detail we're talking about. And I think that kind of intense mental focus, combined with his unshakable belief,
Right.
might be part of why he was so successful.
That makes me think about manifesting things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the law of attraction stuff.
Right, where people believe that if they visualize what they want, it'll like help bring it into reality.
Exactly.
It's pretty interesting, right?
Yeah, and whether or not you believe in that kind of stuff, you
Yeah.
can't deny that mental visualization is a pretty powerful tool.
For sure.
Like athletes use it to improve their performance and artists use it to create masterpieces.
Right.
Maybe Tesla was just taking it to a whole other level.
Maybe he was.
Okay, but if Tesla was so good at this, did he ever mention like any techniques? Anything that our listeners could try if they want to, see if this works for themselves?
So that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Our sources describe Tesla as being able to completely shut out the outside world
Okay.
and enter this state of super deep concentration. And in this state, he could like interact with his ideas as if they were physically there in front of him.
So he wasn't just seeing his inventions, he was like experiencing them.
Exactly.
Wait, so it wasn't just like a daydream?
Nope.
He was fully immersed in this other reality.
Yes. And this wasn't just like a passive thing for Tesla.
Okay.
It was an active process of creation. He was shaping his inventions in his mind, experimenting with different designs,
Yeah.
and refining his ideas, all before he even set foot in his workshop.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see how this connects to the whole unwavering faith thing.
Right.
It's like he wasn't just hoping his inventions would work.
Yeah,
He was convinced they would work because he'd already built them and tested them in his mind.
exactly.
But did he ever have problems when he actually tried to bring those mental models into the real world?
Well, of course, he faced challenges, just like any other inventor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that even when things went wrong, when his experiments failed, he didn't see it as a defeat.
So he didn't get all discouraged and give up.
Nope, he just saw it as more data, like another piece of the puzzle.
He just doubled down on this whole inner reality thing.
Exactly. Our sources say that for Tesla, the physical world wasn't the ultimate test. It was like the final step in a much longer process.
Right.
A process that began in his mind.
So it's like he saw the real world as less real than his mental world.
It's a pretty radical way of thinking about things.
Yeah, was it like the physical world was just a shadow play to him?
There's this quote from our sources that I think sums it up perfectly.
Okay.
It says, "The unseen is not unreal. In fact, it is more real than what is seen, for what is seen is merely a shadow, a reflection of what was first established in the invisible realm."
Whoa, okay. That's pretty deep.
It is.
But wouldn't that mean that if someone believes really strongly in something negative, like bad luck or danger, they'd be more likely to experience those things?
That's a really good question.
Like, how would Tesla explain that?
Well, that gets to the heart of what our sources call Tesla's unshakable faith. He believed that fear and doubt were just as powerful as positive belief. Maybe even more so.
Wow.
That's why he always said it was important to get rid of negative thoughts
Okay.
and just focus on the positive outcome you want.
So instead of visualizing failure, you're basically just replacing those thoughts with thoughts of success.
Exactly. You're blocking out the bad vibes with good ones.
Okay, but how do you actually do that?
Well, Tesla believed in the power of habit. He knew that our minds are always creating, whether we're aware of it or not.
Yeah.
So he said we need to consciously direct our thoughts towards what we want.
So not just like, wishing for things to happen.
Right. It's not passive. It's active.
Okay.
You have to actively shape those mental images and feel them as if they were already real.
So it's not just about seeing it, it's about feeling it.
Exactly. You have to engage all your senses in this mental world you're creating.
Wow.
It's about fully immersing yourself in the experience of success.
Okay, but this is where Tesla's practices go beyond just visualization. He also believed in the power of action, like not just mental action, but actually doing things in the real world.
Exactly.
So he wasn't just sitting in a dark room thinking all day.
Nope. He was out there building things. He was a tireless worker.
Okay, so he believed in his mental models, but he also knew that he had to put in the real work to make them happen.
Exactly.
No.
It wasn't magic. It was a combination of mental blueprints and hard work.
That makes a lot of sense.
I think so too.
This reminds me of something else our sources talk about.
What's that?
Tesla seemed to be able to predict the future of technology.
Yeah, he was way ahead of his time.
Like he was talking about wireless communication and renewable energy back in the early 1900s.
I know, it's incredible.
Do you think that foresight was connected to his unusual way of thinking?
I think it might have been. It wasn't like he was just guessing based on what technology already existed.
Right.
It was like he was tapping into something deeper,
Okay.
like a well of creative potential, drawing inspiration from ideas that hadn't even materialized yet.
So he was looking into that invisible realm and seeing what technology could become.
Exactly. Even if it seemed impossible at the time.
That's amazing.
It is.
And, if we take that idea seriously, it kind of puts a lot of responsibility on us.
How so?
Well, if our thoughts really are shaping the world, we better make sure we're thinking the right thoughts.
It's definitely something to think about.
It really is. It's a really powerful idea.
It raises a lot of interesting questions about the nature of reality and the power of belief.
Yeah, and about the role of consciousness in shaping the world around us.
Exactly.
So this isn't just about Tesla and his inventions anymore.
Yep.
It's about how we all think about the world and our place in it.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Okay, so let's say I'm listening to this and I'm totally on board with this whole idea that thoughts create reality.
Okay.
Where do I even begin?
That's a great question.
Like, how do I cultivate that kind of unshakable faith that Tesla seemed to have?
Well, I think the first step is just becoming aware of the power of your thoughts. You have to start paying attention to the stories you're telling yourself, the beliefs you're holding on to, and the images you're creating in your mind.
So it's like mindfulness for your thoughts.
Exactly.
But what if those thoughts are negative?
Hmm.
Like, what if I'm constantly doubting myself or worrying about things?
Well, that's where the real work comes in.
Oh, okay.
It's not about suppressing those negative thoughts or pretending they don't exist.
Right.
It's about acknowledging them, accepting them, and then choosing to focus on more positive and empowering thoughts.
So you're basically retraining your brain to focus on the good stuff instead of the bad stuff.
Exactly.
But how do you actually do that?
Well, there are a lot of different techniques that people find helpful.
Okay.
Some people like to keep a gratitude journal where they write down things they're grateful for each day.
Mm-hmm.
Others find it helpful to use affirmations where they repeat positive statements to themselves.
So it's like those motivational posters with the inspiring quotes?
Yeah, kind of.
But you're saying those actually work.
They can, but it's not just about the words themselves.
Okay.
It's about the intention behind them.
Mm-hmm.
It's about choosing to believe in those positive statements and allowing them to shape your thoughts and actions.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts, it's about actually believing them.
Exactly.
Like really, truly believing them deep down.
Yes, and that's where the unshakable faith comes in.
Okay.
It's not about blind faith or wishful thinking.
Right.
It's about having a deep inner knowing that what you desire is possible.
Mm.
And it's about taking action that aligns with that belief even when you don't see results right away.
Okay, so we've got awareness of our thoughts, we've got techniques for shifting those thoughts in a more positive direction, and we've got this unshakable faith thing.
Right.
But how do we know if it's actually working?
Yeah.
How do we know if we're actually starting to shape our reality?
Well, I think you start to see evidence of it in your life.
Okay.
Maybe you start attracting more opportunities, or you find yourself surrounded by more supportive people. Maybe you experience more synchronicities, or you just feel more joyful and fulfilled.
So it's like the universe is sending you little hints that you're on the right track.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the more you pay attention to those hints, the more you reinforce your belief that your thoughts are shaping your reality.
That makes sense. But what about the times when things don't go our way?
Yeah.
Like, what if we're doing all the right things, but we're still facing challenges or setbacks? Does that mean our thoughts aren't powerful enough?
That's a tough question, and I think it's important to remember that even with the strongest faith, life is still going to throw you curveballs.
Right.
There will be times when things don't go according to plan.
So how do we deal with those curveballs?
Well, I think it's important to acknowledge your feelings of disappointment or frustration.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel those things,
Yeah.
but you don't want to get stuck there.
Okay.
You want to use those experiences as opportunities to learn and grow.
So instead of seeing setbacks as failures, we see them as feedback.
Exactly like the universe is telling you to adjust your course or refine your thoughts.
Okay.
And that's where the true power of unshakable faith comes in. It's not about believing that everything will always be perfect.
Right.
It's about trusting that even when things get tough, you have the inner strength to overcome those challenges and come out stronger on the other side.
So even when things are falling apart, you still hold on to that belief that everything is happening for a reason and that you have the power to create a positive outcome.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's not always easy, but the more you practice this way of thinking, the more natural it becomes.
Yeah.
And the more you'll start to see evidence of it in your life.
This is some really fascinating stuff.
It is.
It's making me think about my own life and the things I want to create. And it's making me wonder, what if Tesla was right?
About what?
What if we really do have the power to shape our reality with our thoughts?
It's definitely a question worth exploring. And who knows? Maybe by tapping into that unshakable faith that Tesla had, we can all unlock our own potential to create amazing things.
Okay, so to wrap up this deep dive, I want to spend some time really exploring Tesla's idea of unseen forces.
Okay.
What do our sources tell us about how he interacted with this realm and how it influenced his inventions?
Okay, so we've been talking about Tesla's unshakable faith and how it might have helped him visualize inventions.
Right.
But our sources go a little deeper than that.
Okay.
They suggest he wasn't just like imagining things, but he was actually tapping into unseen forces as part of his creative process.
Right.
That's kind of where I get a little lost, to be honest.
It is one of the more mystical parts of Tesla's thinking.
Yeah.
Our sources describe it as him being able to perceive this realm beyond the physical world.
Okay.
A realm of pure energy and information where, like, the blueprints of reality exist.
So not just blueprints for inventions, but like for everything.
Yeah.
Was he like seeing the Matrix code or something?
Maybe not quite like that.
But he did believe that this unseen realm wasn't separate from the physical world. but rather the source from which the physical world arises.
Okay.
He often talked about energy, frequency, and vibration as the fundamental building blocks of reality.
Wait, those words sound familiar.
Yeah.
Didn't we already talk about those in relation to his work with alternating current?
He did.
So he was applying the same concepts to his inventions and to this deeper, unseen level of existence.
Exactly. For Tesla, it wasn't one or the other.
Okay.
He saw the scientific and the spiritual as interconnected, like two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
He believed that by understanding the laws of this unseen realm, he could unlock the secrets of the physical world and harness its potential in ways that most people thought were impossible.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all ties together.
Yeah.
But how did he actually interact with this unseen realm?
Right?
Did our sources say he meditated or had visions or something?
Well, they suggest that he used a combination of deep concentration, mental imagery, and what he called controlled imagination.
Controlled imagination.
Yep.
Yeah.
He would deliberately enter a state of heightened awareness where he could perceive these unseen forces and actually interact with them.
So, like, he was consciously directing his mind to this other realm.
Yeah, it wasn't just like random inspiration or anything.
Yeah.
He believed that this realm wasn't some far-off mystical place,
Right.
but rather an ever-present field of energy that we could all access if we knew the right techniques. He saw himself as kind of an explorer, venturing into this uncharted territory and bringing back knowledge and insights.
Yeah.
Insights that he could then use for his inventions.
That's a pretty cool way to think about it.
I think so.
But it still sounds a little hard to believe. I
Yeah.
mean, did he leave behind any proof of this?
Well, that's the tricky part. A lot of his notes and journals were lost or destroyed over the years.
Oh, wow.
And what remains is often pretty cryptic and open to interpretation.
Yeah.
But there are these little hints scattered throughout his writings and lectures that suggest he took these experiences really seriously.
So it's like little clues for people who know what to look for.
Yeah, exactly like a treasure hunt for hidden knowledge.
I like that.
And that's part of what makes Tesla so fascinating.
Yeah.
There's this sense of mystery surrounding him.
Right.
This feeling that he knew things that went beyond conventional science.
Okay, so let's say, just for the sake of argument, that Tesla really was tapping into this unseen realm.
Okay.
What does that mean for the rest of us?
Right.
Like, can we learn to do this too, or was he just special?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And while Tesla might have had this unique ability, he also believed that these abilities are within all of us.
Really?
Yeah. He often talked about the importance of cultivating our mental faculties and expanding our consciousness.
So he wouldn't want us to just worship him as some kind of genius.
Nope.
He'd want us to try and unlock that potential within ourselves.
Exactly. He saw himself as a pioneer, charting a path for others to follow.
Wow.
And I think that's one of the most inspiring parts of his legacy.
This whole deep dive has been so thought-provoking.
It has been interesting, right?
And we started with Tesla the inventor.
Yeah.
Then we talked about Tesla the believer. And now we're ending with Tesla the mystic.
He was a complex guy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And even though not everyone agrees with his more unconventional ideas,
Right.
there's no denying that he was a visionary.
Absolutely.
Someone who pushed the boundaries of science and technology.
And maybe even the boundaries of reality itself.
Maybe so.
So for our listeners out there, if you were to try one Tesla technique, what would you suggest based on our sources?
I think the most accessible technique is the one we discussed earlier.
Okay.
Controlled imagination.
Right.
It's about consciously directing your thoughts, visualizing your goals, and really feeling the emotions associated with achieving them. Tesla believed that this could be really powerful for manifestation.
For bringing our desires into reality.
Exactly.
So instead of just daydreaming, we're actively shaping our mental reality.
Right.
And by doing that, we're actually influencing the physical world around us.
That's the idea.
So whether or not Tesla was actually communicating with unseen forces,
Right.
the point is that our minds are more powerful than we realize.
Absolutely. And I think that's an important message to remember.
Yeah.
Whether you're a scientist, an artist, an entrepreneur, or just someone who wants to live a better life.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks.
I think that's the perfect note to end on.
I agree.
Thanks again for this deep dive into the world of Nikola Tesla.
It's been fun.
This has been one of our most mind-bending episodes yet.
Yeah, it has.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on this journey.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And remember, whether you believe in unseen forces or not, the power of your mind is undeniable.
It's true.
So choose your thoughts wisely, cultivate your inner vision, and never stop exploring the boundless possibilities of human potential.
Well said.
Until next time, keep those minds open and those imaginations fired up.